where does this masterpiece fall? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
Let's start with Vince, as always. I'm just going to keep it that way. I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Vince, where does Mandy rate on your Cageometer?
This is a 9 for me. I'm giving this bad boy a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I really loved it. It was just so well. There's a lot of love that went into this movie. You can tell from the director. I love how well paced it was. For me, like I said, I couldn't believe that it was a 2-hour film, because when I got done with it, it did not feel like 2 hours had passed. I thought it was paced incredibly. I love the way that he sectioned out the stories to, and gave the characters time to develop, which made that third act more incredible, because you can see the love that he had for her, and their relationship was important to him, and you see these little glimpses of this past life that was a hard life. Like, you just got to assume it's a hard life, because in that third act, he's very capable at what he's doing. He is obviously an alcoholic at some point. You see the pain of now, like, going back to this person he never wanted to be again. It just, like, all concludes in a very satisfying way when he fucking squeezes that dude's head, Jeremiah's head, and Jeremiah's eyes are popping out and shit. I mean, it was really well done. I love the monologues. The monologues that Jeremiah gave were incredible, and the visuals that accompanied them, like we talked about with the two faces, with Mandy's face and his face interchanging with one another, and the color schemes and palettes that he used throughout the film were a lot of fun. It was just a really good, just a really good world that he built. Like we talked about, the story is a generic revenge story, right? Man's wife or woman dies, he goes and avenges her, but it was this story or the world that he built around this story that made this so unique and interesting to me. And as we started digging into a lot of the artifacts that they had, that they were using, you could just really tell that he was building, there's something more that was built into this world, which is what I think gave it a lot of depth, and made some of the stuff that, like we said, like we just had to stop analyzing, fit and be believable in this world. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me on this one. As far as Nick Cage, I'm gonna give him a 9 as well. This is the highest rating for me for him. But I felt like, I won't say much more about his performance, because we talked a lot about it throughout the breakdown, but to have so little lines and to convey so much through his body language and his expressions, he nailed it. And especially when it came to the grief and pain scenes, like you said, Patrick, when he was in the bathroom freaking out, it could have gone into a Vampire's Kiss reciting the entire alphabet meme-tastic moment. But the moment he sat down on that toilet and started crying, it changed. Like, you were watching this man bear his soul and his grief, and it's the best performance he's given, in my opinion, of all the movies that we've seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he deserves a 9 from me.
Nigel, where does Mandy rate on your Cageometer?
This discussion has made me bump it up, actually, a bit. I had it at an 8 originally. I'm moving it to a 9 as well, after discussing it and digging into it, because I feel like it's a movie that you really do have to discuss and think about and process a bit. But one of the nice things about it is, even if you don't do that, I still think it's a great experience, just on the first watch.
True.
I only watched it the one time. I got too busy to watch it a second time, and my rental ran out on it. I wanted to watch it another time, but I wanted to get my wife to watch it, but she doesn't seem interested in it at all, because it just seems too dark and weird for her.
Same here.
But I've never seen a movie like this before. I've never gone through an experience like this movie presented, and it wasn't perfect for me. I do think it was a little long. I do think it dragged in some places, especially in the opening act. For me, it just kind of felt like things were going a little slow paced. That kind of makes me a little leery on a rewatch. Like, I have to sit through this whole thing again. It makes me sound negative on it, but it's just one of those things that gives me pause.
I would actually say the second time around was more enjoyable than the first time, for me anyway. Okay. It was like, because I had that thought, like after watching it, I kind of dreaded the second time, going through it, because I had to do the breakdown and stuff. I was like, shit, I'm gonna have to commit all this time to this movie and then sit here and like, it didn't feel that way at all. Like I was just genuinely like, I can't wait to get to the next scene. I can't wait to get to the next scene. Like even while I was sitting there like writing stupid jokes and shit, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see what's next again. So
yeah, I want to rewatch it now after discussing it.
I guess that's only like $10 on Amazon. So
yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to buy it along with Color Out of Space, because I liked that one a lot. Yeah. That one was a rental as well. Yep. Yeah. So my other thing is I wish there was originally, when I was doing my initial assessment of it, I wish there was a little more story to it, a little more plot in it. But after talking about it, I don't think that it needs anything more than what it has. I think it's there if you pay attention and you deep dive into it, and it presents itself in a way that still fits the story. It doesn't need anything beyond that. And it's parts of it are ambiguous enough that it's fine. It suits it. Just the way that it all coalesces together into a movie that you experience more than you analyze, but you can analyze it if you want, and by analyzing it, you actually get more out of the experience, if that makes any sense. But just the soundtrack coupled with the visuals are center stage, accompanied by Nick Cage's performance and everybody's performance in it, really. They all coalesce into something that is better than the sum of its parts, and the story takes a backseat to that, but it's fine in the purpose of this movie. The visuals, the sound, the performances are the star of the show. The story can take a backseat. It's fine. Yeah. That's my thought on it. So the way it was executed and the way it was done, specifically on the small budget that it has, from a director who's done one other movie, I think it's a near perfect execution of what he set out to do. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in it that we didn't even pick up on that he actually included in it that, that he did a good job of putting in there. So
I feel like there's a lot to. It's a movie that's going to be studied for years. I feel like it's one of those movies that's going to be probably shown in like film schools and stuff. It's been a while since I had college education in English and stuff. So it's been a while since I've had a discussion about something where I've been able to analyze things. And I get that feeling, of a classic book where there's a lot going on under the surface, and there's a lot you can take away from it if you want, a lot you can interpret, and there's a lot of it. Like I think the three of us may have three different interpretations of what even happens in the movie, but it's fine. It's all it all works on every level. So that's what I love about it. And then as far as Nick Cage's performance, I give him a 9 out of 10 as well, which is I think the same I gave him in Weatherman. I think there's less for him to do in this movie, but that's not exactly true. He has to convey a lot without saying a lot, and does that in a way that's near perfect. His grief coming through the performance is palpable, like you said in the notes. The one shot take he does when he downs a bottle of wine and gives into his sorrow and starts this whole descent into hell is one of the best things I've seen him do. Even though he doesn't say a lot after that, he just has this presence that works for this character and for the movie, so that by the time he's got Jeremiah's head in his hands and he says, "I'm your God now," and he's using quoting things as like guttural demon stuff, like you've watched him transform into this through the course of the movie, and it all fits and it doesn't seem jarring and weird. That he gave his all to this role that just seems like it came out of nowhere. Really did.
In a movie that passed a lot of people by. So 9 out of 10 on that one as well for me.
Wow. I also gave it a 9 out of 10 for the movie, which is crazy. Like this is easily the highest rating that we've given on any of these movies. It's hard sometimes to like think about it in in the scope of like other Nick Cage performances. Like, you know, do you put this at the same performance as like a, you know, Raising Arizona or an adaptation or Leaving Las Vegas? And it's like, it's hard to say. Like, I don't know. I waffled a little bit. I went back and forth between an 8 and a 9 on the movie, just because, like, I don't know. I do think that there are things that could have been executed better, but like, I mean, it's almost like a masterpiece. I mean, it just, everything comes together. These incredible performances from, I don't know how to pronounce her name properly. Andrea Rosen.
Oh, Rice.
I think it's Riceborough.
Riceborough. Yeah,
Probably Riceborough.
Yeah,
it looks like Riceborough, but it's probably Riceborough.
She was incredible throughout the whole thing, and she just disappeared in that. I've seen her in other things, and she's not this character in other things. She was incredible, and then Linus Roache is just off the chart as this crazy preacher, which, you know, we've seen this character many, many times. These crazy zealot leaders who convince some followers, you know, to David Koresh, you know, themselves into this like communal thing where he has sex with all the women and all that kind of stuff. Like, we've seen this character many, many times, but he brought such a like presence to that character and such a like depth to it. I don't know. It was kind of spellbinding every time he was on scene, on camera. Even in the end, you know, like when he was trying to convince Red that, you know, he would save his soul, and, you know, and then he tries to blow him and stuff, and it's like you
buy both.
Both he works so well on both, because, like, you know, you could see those moments of doubt so many times in the movie of him doubting himself, and then he like corrects himself, and that happens in that scene where he's like, "I'll suck your dick, man," and then he like snaps back and is like, "I don't kneel before you, you kneel before me." So just incredible performances throughout. The music is just fucking tits, man. It's just great.
So
just from the start, you know, with King Crimson coming in, which, you know, it doesn't take much to. I love King Crimson, and I've always been a huge fan ever since I was a teenager. But like, you want to make me love your movie instantly? Throw some King Crimson on the beginning of it. And like, you know, Johan Johansson's score is just unbelievable throughout the thing. And then like when the drums and the droning guitar come in when he enters that church, I was just like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Every bit of it, just from start to finish, is just fantastic. I waffle a bit on the rating just because, like, I didn't get a lot of the fantasy stuff. Like, I wasn't exactly sure what the hell they were trying to say with like a lot of stuff. But like you said, like, you really just kind of have to shut your brain off and just enjoy it, because it is, you know, it's like one of my favorite movies of all time, or potentially my favorite movie of all time, is The Shining, and like, I have seen it 50 times. And I still don't get it. And I think that's why I love it still. It's like, I still don't get it, but I love it. And that's how I feel about Mandy. As far as Nick Cage, I didn't give him a 9. I gave him an 8. And it was mostly because I feel like he's done so much more in other movies. You know, like, I hesitate to give him, you know, almost the highest rating that we would possibly give him for a role where he's mute for almost the entire thing. That being said, every second that he's on screen is like, you can't take your eyes off of him, especially like when he starts going nuts and he just gives those looks, and you're just like, oh shit, something's going on behind those eyes, like the whole movie. But like, you know, I hesitate to give him a full 9 out of 10 just because, like, I've seen what he can do with dialogue, you know, in a really great movie. So I have to give him just a little nudge down to an 8, just because of that. But that being said, like, fuck, like, that moment in the bathroom, watching it the first time, I was like, okay, here we go. Things are gonna get wacky. Nick Cage is about to do what Nick Cage does, and then when he starts sobbing, that was the moment where I was just like, holy shit, this is a whole different level. This is a different kind of Nick Cage freak out in a way where it's like, this is this is exactly how that character would respond to that horror that he just witnessed and what he just went through. He just lost the person that brought him out of, you know, what we can interpret was like a very dark part of his life and made him happy. And I get the feeling that he's not a super happy person in general, but when he's with Mandy, he is. And vice versa, kind of the same thing. Like, I don't think Mandy's a super happy person unless she's with Red. And it's
and
just,
none of this is told to us. It's just shown to us through his performance.
Yes,
which is one of those fantastic things about it.
Yeah, and it's just heartbreaking, And it's, you know, several things throughout the film where it's just like, you know, his crazy cagiest moments all kind of come from things that revolve around Mandy, like when he screams, "You ripped my shirt," you know, like that came out of, like, they cut the shirt that Mandy wore the first time he met her, and like that must have also been kind of heartbreaking. Like, you took her away from me, and now you're going to take away this incredibly important piece of her that I still get to hold on to. And so it was a fucking amazing performance and a fucking amazing movie. And, you know, if you aren't convinced after watching and listening to this, then I don't know what we can do.
Yeah.
So Nick Cage suck fest for us for this whole movie. Just like,
call it Jeremiah. I'll suck his dick.
We'll suck his dick after watching this performance.
This movie could have easily been, just on paper, a cheap, cheesy, schlocky C movie.
100%.
You know, in a different director, even with Nick Cage in it. You know, they could have gone a completely different direction, but it treats it seriously in a way that, you know, he didn't have to, but the way that he wanted to execute it just kind of shows the power of how well you can craft a story.
Yes.
Even in a simple story like that.
Yes. I mean, I think that's a testament to telling a simple story, but being able to make it just so engaging throughout the whole movie. I think that's, you know, I think it's the music, I think it's the performances, and I think it's the direction. And like 9 out of 10 on all of those fronts, like unbelievable throughout the whole thing.
But I go back to thinking like it's like a fairy tale. Again, fairy tales have simple stories, but you can present them. Part of the reason why they've lasted is because you can. You can present them in ways that are impactful and meaningful. You know, with a bare bones structure of a story, you know, to wrap around.
It doesn't have to get all convoluted. You know.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of, especially blockbusters and stuff, they try and get too big, you know, and too fancy with it. And they're like, well, we got to film in 30 different countries in this movie. And it's like, this is $6 million movie with a very simple story, but it is, you know, it's orchestrated to the highest possible level throughout the whole thing.
They executed so well.
Could you imagine if they gave this guy $10 million to make this movie?
Just again, juxtapose this with Dog Eat Dog, which is a simple story,
right?
that is executed terribly,
garbage,
and not taken seriously, and is an awful experience all around.
I wouldn't say awful. I mean,
but
it's
not great.
It's not great. But if it's a fucking just hour, what was that movie? Hour and a half.
Yeah, it was an hour and a half, and it felt
chaos
twice as long.
It
felt twice as long as Mandy, to me anyway.
It really did. I definitely will say that Dog Eat Dog does feel a lot longer, but I mean, this movie was missing one important thing. I would have given it a 10 if it started off with William Dafoe slashing some lady's neck open.
maybe he's one of the bikers.
If instead of Mac from The Predator, it would have been Paul Schrader who comes in. He's like, I saw him from a distance, and I could say, you know, they fucking loved it. They fucking love being in pain. Yeah.
They used to be. I used to know them. I don't know them anymore.
They were making LSD.
They used to make LSD, but now they drink fat kids' blood.